Hello viewers, Super GT here. Now in all of my days of Gran Turismo Sport, not many of them are going to top this one for ridiculousness. So many things, so many good, so many bad. But we're going to dive in straight away and show you one of the most ridiculous starts I think I've ever seen in any race I've had. Okay, so this is the FIA race at Tokyo Expressway, manufacturers. Now you can see by the long straight, we've had videos on this straight before, on this circuit. It really does come down to slipstream. But it doesn't help when this happens at the start. A traffic jam starts forming behind 7th place, and I cannot explain this. What the hell is even going on? 7th place just feels like, you know what, I'm not going to do the rolling start, I'm just going to stop and let the top 7 or top 6 clear off into the distance. GG, mate. So now we have one massive cluster of players heading or hurtling, should we say, towards the first corner. This can only end in a bad way. Look at this, about 5 abreast coming down the straight. I'm in the Lexus, of course, and we are actually teaming up with the Lexus teams up here. It's more like the Tour de France than it is a manufacturer's race. As we come up towards the first corner then, trying to spot your braking point, trying to hope that we don't die. Dying of death is inevitable round here, and just look at that radar, about 4,000 people are invading the space behind us. Somehow we end up here in going to be 10th place. Not sure how that happened. Now we're going to skip forward through this race because this race wasn't the main event that you want to see. This little weird happening here. The Lexus boys all getting caught up with each other. Go up another position. And it was really about the slipstream down this main straight. You can gain so much time. It's absolutely ridiculous. So a lot of bump drafting going on, a lot of normal drafting going on. We sort of teamed up against this Jaguar a little bit because the Jaguar, the quickest car, so we tried to beat him by using each other's draft, myself and this Corvette, throughout the course of this race. So it was a really tactical battle, and obviously with the way that the start went, it was very difficult to get in the top 6, basically impossible because they had such a big gap. And it was really, in this instance, about fighting for 8th place. That was about as good as we could have possibly got, as the guy in 7th managed to break away towards the front group, and then it was just all of us back here. Okay, so lap 11, this time trying to go for the lead instead of bump drafting as we are approaching the end of the race. Up the inside, are we going to get the move done? A little bit deep on the brakes, and you can see on the radar he's going to just poke his nose alongside, and I have to give him space there. So we're going to go side by side through here. And the Lexus and the Corvette, the Lexus is actually pretty good in a straight line, but unfortunately the Jaguar decided to boost the Corvette, and he just managed to get ahead, as you can see. Look how close this racing is here. The chances of a mistake, the chances of a penalty are approximately 100%. As we come into this fast chicane, look at that, tiny bit of lag as well, just having to react to that. As we come through, no pit stop required in this race, it's just a straight dash to the finish. But as you lap, your tyres get a little bit worse, of course, towards the end. Coming up the hill, lap number 12 now, get a little bit of a push from this man behind. You can just about keep it on as we then come down towards the final corner. Sometimes you want to be behind, actually. Sometimes being behind is actually the better place, as you can still slipstream past people out of the hairpin towards the finish line. So let's see if that happens. Down towards the hairpin, then the last braking point of the race, and the Corvette goes deep. The Jaguar is going to undercut him on the way out and go up into 8th place, which is what we're all fighting for here. We're going to tuck back into that slipstream and see if we can overhaul these two guys, or at least one of them, before the finish. So as we come up to the line, the Jaguar's going to swerve all over the place. We're going to try to get to the right hand side, just get a tiny bit of contact. And there's actually someone recovering. Stefanski actually got pushed into the pit wall, so we're going to gain a position anyway. Not in the way I would have thought, but we finished 9th. Now that race was ridiculous because of the start. Totally stupid, cannot explain it, but there you go, just another Gran Turismo glitch. We go again, of course. Now this was another ridiculous thing. If anyone watches F1, you'll know exactly what this is. The Monza Grand Prix last year, the qualifying. Well, basically no one wants to go first on this circuit in qualifying, because if you're at the front you get no slipstream, and therefore you can lose a good second on this lap by not having slipstream. So everyone is holding back. It's like a traffic jam coming down towards the final hairpin. of 20 people who do not want to go first, basically. So I'm just going to hold back somewhere in the middle, let other people do the work. Everyone goes out, they're going that slowly. Then eventually you have to go. You have to get on the power to get your good lap in. And then everyone decides eventually to put their foot down. So really just ridiculous racing this is. And it's just this circuit, it really just brings out some of the craziest races I've ever had because of the slipstream. Because the slipstream is so strong on this game. And then this is the qualifying lap. Look at this. It's an absolute mess. It looks more like lap 1, turn 1. Or it just looks like lap 1 in general of a race. This is qualifying. And it's just gone mental. I mean, this guy getting a 5.5 second penalty. Everyone crashing. And somehow I just go past about 4 or 5 people there. Thankfully, just still within reach of the slipstream. As we come down towards the hairpin, I'm going to try to set our quickest lap here. As you never quite know on the second lap. You never know what might happen. As also, the tyres are going to be slightly worse, so it should be a slower lap technically. As we come across the line then, 207.1, not a great lap. You want really at least a 205 or a 206. But it was the quickest lap. I set the quickest lap on that first lap. And we're going to go again here, still in the slipstream, so we're in a good position here. Going to go defensive against the Jag behind. And then out of nowhere, I got caught out last second by this Honda NSX up the inside. I did not see it coming. It caught me out. And unfortunately, I just went into the back of DNA Z there and just tapped him round. Really frustrating. Across the line, and it was 1/10 slower. Unfortunately, I think I could have gone maybe half a second quicker if that final corner had gone to plan. But ultimately we finished in 12th, and here is the new updated FIA intro. Okay then, let's jump into this race. Now, this one, honestly, this is one of the most crazy races I've had. And I know I say that a lot, but honestly, this was really quite something. It really was very strange. As well, we've had a lot of strange goings on so far, with the weird start on the last one, and then of course that qualifying session, very, very strange. That Alpha basically stands 0 chance of success in this race. Don't know why he turned up. The Alpha's basically got no top speed. You might as well just get out and run. You'd be quicker. So that car is probably going to finish last. Good luck to him. We'll find out at the end, I suppose. Now, okay, so we move up 1 position. Started 12th, and the main problem with the first race was the fact that we didn't have the slipstream, and therefore we couldn't keep up. As long as you're within a second or a second and a half going onto the main straight, then you're going to keep up with the group ahead. As long as you're not in an Alpha, of course. Then you're going backwards in time. But as long as we can keep with the group, as long as we don't do anything silly, as long as the group doesn't fight too much, then you're always in with a chance. And that is always true of this circuit because of the slipstream. The OP suck forces down that long straight. So that's the main aim. Just keep it sensible and slowly pick off the positions if possible. I know that I could definitely have qualified a lot higher up than this. The Lexus is not too bad for this circuit. It's actually pretty good around the corners and decent on the main straight. It's not the quickest, but it's decent. I think the Jaguar is actually very good. The Jaguar's very good on a straight line, so it's probably the right person to have up in front, as we can sort of get their toe down the main straight. But just following through on lap 1, nothing too much happening apart from overtaking the Alpha. Actually, this guy gets a bit of contact from ahead, so losing momentum. Going to go around the outside and come down towards the hairpin. Going to cover him off, but then unfortunately just receive a tap in the rear end, smashes into the BMW, and thankfully, I don't know how this happened, it must be a late Christmas miracle, but no one got a penalty for that, thankfully. If anyone should have done it, it should have been Marvel, but I don't think he did. But I'd rather just the race continues, everyone can continue the race for now. So up into 10th, weird kind of overtake there, as we progressed to the end of lap 2, Looking up the inside of the Mustang, not quite on the brakes late enough to go for the move. Again, another one of these weird knock-on effects. And unfortunately that's going to mean the Jaguars on our left-hand side here have to leave him the space for this little kink here onto the straight. And he's going to get into the toe of the cars ahead. So it's a drag race between the two of us. But he's going to win because he's in the toe of the Mustang. There's nothing I can do. And eventually, there you go. He's going to slowly reel in ahead. So I have to tuck back in behind and just deal with it. I'm in 11th. Okay, so lap 3. Looking past this Mustang, this was a really delicious move that's about to come up here. As we come through the fast sweeping left-right chicane. And this track is really about pushing the limits on the walls. Similar, I suppose, to Monaco, you just have to get as close to the walls as possible to really maximise your speed through the corners. He slows down a little bit here, a bit of brake application, and that leaves the space up the inside. And I think, you know what, let's go for it. And pull it off to perfection, up into 10th, and we get the job done. The thing I'm worried about here is the fact that the group is splitting apart. So you can see from 8th, the Jaguar, to 7th, that gap is just the back. The gaps are quite big, and as long as you're within that slipstream range, it's just about okay. But the main thing that's good at the moment is the fact that the guys at the very front are beginning to fight, and that is going to draw this gap ever smaller. So look at the red number on the left-hand side of the screen, 3.3 at the moment. Well, it's actually a white number with a red background next to my name. So that's kind of a crucial number. Just looking at the gap to the front. As long as we're all within sort of slipstream range, then it's okay. Up behind the Nissan now. I'm surprised this car wasn't a little bit quicker. Normally, the Nissans are very, very quick in a straight line, but I think this guy was actually quite struggling in this race. So up behind him now. I'm going to try to get a good exit and just try to get a move done into the hairpin. Often it's best just to wait for the straight, but sometimes I think actually going into the hairpin's good. As long as you're in the slipstream of the car ahead, then you're good. Okay, so lay on the brakes. And my braking point for that one was pretty much just after the 150 board. There's a little green signboard just after it, and you can brake just there, and that sets you in nicely. So up another position, up into 9th now, and again we're just going to fast forward this straight. It just goes on forever. I mean, this is going on for ages, and I'm fast forwarding this like by 3 times, and even that took ages just to cross this main straight. I think it's like 2 kilometers long or something. So very, very lengthy indeed. Now, we're still in with a chance, still in there. As you see, the group at the front, they really are very, very compact. It is more like a peloton from cycling than it is a car race. As we're now 2.3 seconds behind. We've gained a second on the lead at this point. And this just shows how ridiculous this circuit is. As basically, no one can escape. As long as there's the slipstream. And by the way, if you want to play a drinking game, slipstream is the word for this one. It doesn't need to be any other words. It's just this circuit is basically synonymous with slipstream. That's all you need to know. But yeah, as long as you're in a group, basically no one can escape. You know, on most circuits, if you're just really quick, you can just drive off into the distance. But around this track, it's very hard to do that unless the guys behind start killing each other. But then again, that could possibly happen, or if they all get penalties, and that can also happen. Now the guy behind kind of just struggling, and he's just going backwards. So a couple of the guys have just overtaken the Mustang, the Nissan GT are just not quite the right cars for this race, and just struggling and just dropping off, or they're just not as good. One of those. But okay, in 9th place, end of lap 5. The battle is getting slightly more interesting. It's a long race. This was like a 26-minute race. I mean, it's already gone 10.5 minutes, and we aren't even halfway yet. So it really is just sort of a patient, long battle. So this is a bit of a tactical battle here. So we're going to go to the left-hand side. I don't have the slipstream. The BMW has the slipstream. You can see he's in line with the cars ahead. Thankfully, people start moving over to the left, and then I just begin to pick up the toe. You can see that, and then I just begin to go a bit quicker. And thankfully that happened. So I'm going to get this position courtesy purely of the slipstream. As we just get past, there we go. Up into 8, another position gained. Up into towards turn 1. Just look how close that group is. I mean, the fact that none of them are dying just yet, dying of death, is something of a miracle. It really is. And now, 1.7, in fact 1.5 seconds behind the leader. We are gaining massively right now. 1.2 seconds behind the leader. This is changing very, very quickly. Through here, this is where it begins to kick off. People going side by side through that chicane, not the best place to do it. Corvette's slow. I'm going to go to the right hand side, up the inside towards the next corner. I'm going to gain another position. The Mercedes and the Jaguar side by side. There's contact, hits the wall. I'm going to go around the outside up into 6th place, and then Marvel, who have followed through the pack, gets a 4-second penalty. Very harsh. There's just a very, very light tap between the two of them, the Jaguar and the Mercedes. Mercedes just grazing the wall, and that's enough for him to get a 4-second penalty, which he's going to serve just down the bottom of this hill. And therefore I'm going to pick up his toe and then just move over to the right hand side just to get past him as he serves it here. There we go, he slows down. Still in the toe of the guys ahead. That is crucial as we come around the final corner onto the main straight once again. This is only halfway into this race. We still have 12.5 minutes left of racing here, so this one could go down to the wire, and well, let me tell you, it does. So coming down the straight, still in the toe, we're in the right place, this is going well. This is actually pretty ridiculous. I never quite expected to be able to get from 12th place all the way up into a battle for the top 5. And it just took a good amount of timing. Just go into the wall on the exit there, and I just get a tap from behind. Thankfully, he saved me. The Mercedes behind just saved me from dropping too far back. You see, I'm just on the fringes of the slipstream now. 1 second behind. Still okay, still good enough. Good on the brakes into here. As I had a rear bias, trying to save those front tyres for this one. I think you don't need too much rear grip for this track. There's not too many traction zones. It's really about the high-speed steering on this circuit, so just protecting the front tyres as much as possible. Getting the fastest lap of the race there, 2:05.6, and that just shows you how powerful the toe is once again, because I made a massive mistake on that lap and I've still got the fastest lap by a couple of tenths of a second. Okay, so look how close this is. This is honestly ridiculous. One of the most ridiculous races I've ever been part of. On most traditional circuits, you're not going to be able to fight through from 12th, or I wouldn't be able to fight through from 12th up to the top leading group within a couple of laps. It just wouldn't happen. But this circuit, it just unlocks that weird sort of potential for gaining so many positions because of the way that the track is. The nature of the circuit just lends itself to overtaking. And I got a bit lucky with my timing through the group. As people started to implode, the group started to sort of crash into each other. And then I managed to just time my ascent quite well. Now the Porsche of Atomics goes quite wide. We're going to go past him up the inside, up into 4th. Here's the leading group then, into the toe. Can we get into the lead of the race? This is going to be absolutely crazy if this can happen. Starting outside the top 10 in the second split. Some good players in here, some very good players. And we're going to try and go to the right hand side now. Past the Mercedes possibly. The Mercedes is very quick in a straight line. The SLS, one of the strongest cars for this race. Very hard car to beat. So the Jaguar and the Mercedes, maybe the top 2 for this one. Difficult cars to beat around this circuit. You can see he gets a bit of a boost. Look how close this is. Honestly, look at the radar. There's like 5 of us in the radar. It is ridiculously close. It's more like Ace Combat than it is Gran Turismo on that radar. Coming up into the first corner, Mercedes keeps the lead. Acura turns in, the Honda turns in, keeps second. Jaguar on my outside. Going to have to give him space. Sorry, that's a Mercedes. Going to have to give him space. We go side by side, and he's fully aware of the tactical battle here. He's got the slipstream of the guys ahead. Well, we kind of both got it. He just backs out and lets me take it. So now it's my full responsibility to make sure that this next lap is good. If I don't get this right, if I mess up these next few corners, the top 2 are gone, and therefore the battle is over for the lead. So actually getting that chicane dead right. Thankfully I've got it right. Through here, looking for the shadow of the bridge, and then just lift and then power back through, taking that corner nicely, just steering it before the top of the crest here, and you get really close to that wall, powering out to the outside. Okay, we haven't messed it up so far. So the group kind of relied on me here. They decided, okay, Super GT, you go to the front of the pack, and it's your job to try to catch back up with these guys. So I'm not really catching up, but as long as we're, again, within that 1.5 seconds, we'll be alright. Don't have to worry too much. Okay, so into the hairpin. Get this right. Braking just on that green board. Late on the brakes. Maybe a little bit too late. Go a little bit too deep. And we're going to come out of this final corner. So deep, in fact, that the Mercedes, again, gets alongside. We spent half the race alongside each other. In fact, we had a really good battle in the last video around Dragon Trail Gardens, and it seems like we're fighting once again. He again decides to back out, as neither of us were winning that battle. Decides to back out and lets me go into the toe of the guys ahead. Now watch this. We're a good 3/4 of a second behind. But again, I pray to the power of the slipstream gods to give me strength. Look at this. Absolute power of this deity is lowering this gap. I must have prayed harder than these two guys as we caught massively. Look at that. He's going to go to the right hand side. He's going to defend. It's 3 abreast now. The Mercedes on the left hand side. And you tell me, how did he get that 6-second penalty? Absolute BS, it must be said. I don't know how that happened. I honestly, I watched the replay and I couldn't even see any contact, to be honest. But he gets a 6-second penalty for that. Very, very harsh. I couldn't even see what happened. But that is one less opponent to worry about. One less person. This was a group of 6. As the Honda goes very deep, grinds off the wall, we're going to go up into 2nd place now. Oh my god, it really is kicking off. We've got Thomas on the left hand side in the Porsche. Once again, I have a very important responsibility here, and that is to make sure we don't lose track of this Mercedes in the lead. If I get this wrong by a couple of tenths here, then he's gone. He's off in the distance and we're not going to catch him. So to get these corners right, it's quite an important phase of the race. The gap to 1.3 is very close, and Thomas gives me a bit of a bump draft. He knows that we're in a pretty precarious situation with regards to fighting for the lead. Down into the hairpin. That is beautifully judged. That's how you do it. Okay, so the gap 1.1. With 2 laps to go, he's going to try to break the toe. It's not going to happen. You just have to follow him exactly where he goes. Doesn't matter if he swerves left, right. Just follow him. Look at that difference. As we're going to catch up massively, and on the penultimate lap, we're going to pull out to the left-hand side and go for the lead of the race. Oh my god, how the hell has this happened? Now, up into towards turn 1, braking just before the 100 board. Mercedes is still there looking for the move. It's not going to happen for him. We've tucked into the lead. Oh my god. I could be on for a very good points haul here. Now, normally I'm getting, well, this season so far, I've got 212 points in my first round, which is not that great, and then about 260 odd, or 270 in my second round. And normally if you win in a second split, you're going to get well over 300, which would be well above what I normally get. So this is a really good opportunity here. I have to make the most of it. In the lead of the race, 1.5 laps left to go. This might not be the best place to be because of the slipstream, but, well, let's just see what happens, to be honest. Sometimes it's a lottery around this circuit because you can't really judge exactly where to be at the right time. It's very, very difficult sometimes to gauge it, especially against certain different cars. Sometimes it's best to be in front, sometimes it's best to be behind. It really depends who and what car they're in. Coming down towards the hairpin then, for the second to last time, I've got a bit of a gap, but to be honest, that's probably not a good thing. So what I'm going to do here, a bit of a sneaky tactic, I'm going to sandbag through this final corner. I'm going to go really slow, and then power out. So the guys behind don't have a big gap. You see they're right on me, and therefore they can't get a slingshot to try to get past me. This one's just going to be a drag race, a straight drag race now, really. So the Mercedes just behind, he's in the toe, but if you don't have that slingshot, it doesn't really help you as much. So now it's just going to be a direct drag battle between the pair of us, as you see there, side by side. If that was the final lap, he would have just about won it, not by much, but it would have been very, very close. Now, unfortunately, he gets bump drafted. No one wants to bump draft me, unfortunately. So I'm going to drop from 1st down to 4th, down to 5th in the space of about 4 seconds. And coming down here, we're just going to pause it because my race has been dramatically ruined by an absolute BS penalty. One of my finest races in a long time. Well, in a couple of days maybe. And look at that. We get handed a 2-second penalty. And it's really frustrating. I wanted to bring you a really good result here. A really good result. It could have been a win. Could have been a podium easily. But no. We get completely shafted by the penalty system. I mean, you tell me what happened there. I don't know. I was getting pushed to the right-hand side by the Honda, I felt, into the Porsche, which then went into the wall very lightly. Didn't even slow him down. And then, well, we get a 2-second penalty. Very, very frustrating. So ridiculous, yes. Ridiculous qualifying, ridiculous race, ridiculous start on the first race, ridiculous penalties. Ridiculous sums this up very well, but I do hope you enjoyed it. It was still really good fun, that race, up until the penalty on the final lap. Finishing 5th ultimately, but it could have easily have been 1st, a 2nd, a 3rd, a 4th. It should have been something top 4, but unfortunately not on this occasion. But there we go. Let me know your thoughts, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks for making it to the end. Well done on making it to the end. I do hope you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new to the channel and want to see more. I shall see you next time, everyone. Have a nice day. Goodbye.